Good morning. Welcome to our first video for the JobKeeper 2 series of videos. We got a wonderful positive feedback from the videos that we did when we all entered this crazy COVID world that we're in at the moment. So we are going to do a couple of videos and we're going to break it down into smaller topics or smaller parts of the JobKeeper 2 subsidy system. I want to start by saying, well done for how well you've all adapted. We've loved watching our clients adapt to the changes in how they've had to trade, and it's been wonderful to see how creative some of you have been. It's been a difficult time. I know it's been a very overwhelming time for advisors, just as it has been for you as business owners. We've had many hard conversations, many it felt like counsellors at times. I've also want to thank our client base for being so patient with us during this time, because our workload has increased quite significantly to allow us to help our client base and businesses in that, and also some of the community that have reached out to us with questions at this time. So, whilst I am very grateful we are in the position where we're quite busy at the moment, it has been a very difficult time for our whole industry, and we have had a very understanding client base, very patient, knowing that we did and we got to them all to provide them with help during that difficult time. So, as we know, JobKeeper has been a lifeline to many businesses since March, and what a whirlwind that ride has been. But unfortunately, for some businesses, that's going to come to an end after this Sunday. So JobKeeper in its original form finishes this Sunday, the 27th of September. So at that point, there's two opportunities to continue into JobKeeper 2. So after the end of September, there's a retesting point to determine whether your business can continue on JobKeeper 2 to the end of December. And then after the end of December, there's another retest to see whether you can continue on to the end of March. So the first retesting point is almost on us, and that's what I want to talk about in the video today. So the turnover test that you'll be doing or will be doing for you, for our client base, but for those of you that aren't clients of ours, you need to test your actual turnover for the months or the quarter, July to September 2020, and compare that to July to September 2019, and determine whether you've had a 30% or more drop in turnover to continue through October to December in JobKeeper 2. Now, clearly, there's some clients we know already that aren't going to pass that test and will fall off JobKeeper after Sunday. There are also businesses that we know, even with 5 days of trade left, are clearly going to pass the test and continue to the end of December. But there are a bunch of businesses in our client base, and I'm sure there's a lot of them also out in the wider community, that aren't quite certain. They're quite close, not sure whether they're going to pass the test or not. And it's based on actual turnover. So we really need to wait until the end of September, get your records up to date and make that assessment. So what we're suggesting that you do, for those of you currently on JobKeeper where it's not clear whether you will or won't continue, is to inform your employees. Inform them that at this stage you're not certain whether you're continuing into JobKeeper 2 if that's the case, and advise them that JobKeeper top-ups will stop after Sunday until you can make that assessment. Then, if you make that assessment and you pass and you're able to continue to the end of December, you then have to the end of October to catch up those JobKeeper top-ups. The other thing you should clearly do is, if you feel that know that you're not going to pass and continue, you should inform your employees straight away and make it very clear to them that past this Sunday, the 27th, they will no longer receive JobKeeper top-up payments. So what is turnover for purposes of testing for JobKeeper? It's based on your GST turnover, and that is the only option apart from alternate tests that you can take this time round. There were extra options in the original version of JobKeeper, but they have been eliminated this time. It's very clear it has to be on your GST turnover. So what is your GST turnover? So it comes back to what basis you're registered for GST purposes. So if you're registered for GST on a cash basis, it's your turnover or your sales that you've made and received payment for in that period, July to September. So it's not when you're invoicing, it's when you receive payment. So clearly you can't assess that test until you've passed the end of September, you've received all the payments from your clients and customers, got your records up to date, and then you test. Similarly, if you're registered for GST on an accruals basis, you test based on when you issue your invoices to customers. And so your accounting software can do or can give you the data to help you with those tests, but you have to have your records up to date. You have to have completed your invoicing, particularly for the accruals basis. I do want to say, be careful of pre-formatted templates that might be in your software that are there for the purpose of doing this testing. There are some things that need to be included and excluded from your turnover to make that assessment. And unless you know what is in the back end of those templates and how your general ledger is set up, you might be looking at numbers that aren't indicative of the proper inclusions and exclusions of turnover. So two things to call out on that is that JobKeeper subsidies and the cash flow boost aren't included in turnover for the purpose of testing. The controversial inclusion in turnover this time round, which wasn't the case in the original JobKeeper, is that sale proceeds from sale of assets are included in turnover for the purpose of testing this time round. Now that can have quite a significant impact on the turnover test, and hence why it's so controversial. So you need to be mindful that depending on how an asset sale is recorded in your accounting software, you include it in the turnover for the purpose of the testing. And if you have sold assets in that quarter and you're not particularly aware of how that works and where they're placed in your software, and when you're doing the testing, I strongly suggest that you connect with your advisor to get that looked at properly. So it's not the net profit or loss that you make on the sale of the asset, it's the sale amount that you sold, the sale proceeds of what you sold that asset for, excluding GST. And one area I feel that is going to be missed is when you trade a car in to buy another car. The trading value of the car you're trading has to be included in the turnover test. So just a little trick there to be mindful of when you are testing, and I do suggest in those situations where you've had the asset sale, reach out to your advisor. Okay, so what happens if you, before I go to what happens if you fail, there are alternate tests this time around which are very similar to the alternate tests in the original JobKeeper. So where you don't pass the GST basis turnover test, you have the option, if you've had certain circumstances occur over the last 12 months-ish, to apply alternate tests to see whether you can get into JobKeeper on those alternate tests. So a classic example of where you might apply a turnover test would be where you've acquired a business or you've had exceptional growth prior to going into COVID. Now, if you fail the JobKeeper test and you know that you're not going to continue into JobKeeper 2, what do you need to do? What steps should you take? Well, basically, You don't need to advise the ATO or the tax office that you're dropping out of JobKeeper. You just lodge your September monthly declaration or claim form and don't continue lodging anymore. It's as simple as that. And you stop making top-up payments to your employees, but clearly also you want to clearly communicate to your employees that past the 27th of September, they won't be receiving JobKeeper top-ups. Then come January, if you're lucky enough to continue come January, you'll retest again based on the October to December quarter turnover to determine if you continue past the end of March. So if you do continue, if you test and you're able to continue, what's the next step for you? You then have to reassess your employees, your eligible employees, because there is a drop in the amount of subsidy received for employees based on their average hours worked on a two-tier system of over or under 80 hours. Now, I don't want to go into detail in this video because I just wanted to focus on the turnover test this time. The next video, which you need to keep an eye out if you do continue on, will be on how to assess your eligible employees as to which tier of payment they will continue on. So I think that's it for that, for turnover, the turnover test. If you've got any questions, you know we're always available. Just reach out to us either through email, Facebook page, call us on 0249 347972 and we'll help you wherever we can. So, you know, good luck, and I hope that those businesses that need to continue through to JobKeeper 2 are able to. And we're here to help if you need help. Thank you for listening.